Thank you very much for choosing Oracle TV to be your number one station, and we are glad that you are watching us at home, at your workplace. Remember, you can get us on our website www.oracletv.co.ke. You can also get us on our Facebook pages, the Oracle Television Network. You can also get us on our YouTube page, the Oracle TV. All those platforms we are live. Tunakuletea TV mkononi mwako. This is the Unspoken, and we continue with the topic we had previous week on mental health. With me in studio, I still have my guest. Remember, my good name remains to be Wangui Gachanja. Just to introduce, or you can introduce yourself. Now I know you know how to talk to the cameras.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much. My name is Bob, Dr. Mercy Bob. I am a general practitioner with a specialization in public health and international healthcare management. I work with AR Healthcare. I am the manager overseeing the region, that is Nakuru region. And thank you so much for having me in studio.
Great. Last week we were talking about mental health. We were able to define what mental health is. We were able to look at the statistics nationally and internationally. And we want to continue with this topic, mental disorders, and look at some of the causes. We may not be able to cover all, but what are the causes of mental health or mental disorder?
Thank you. I like that you have said that we cannot be able to cover all.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's not one shoe fits all,
Yes.
right? But we can categorize the causes. So we majorly categorize the causes of mental health disorders into three. The first would be environmental causes. The second would be genetic causes. And finally, chemical causes. All right?
Okay.
So environmental causes would be that something has happened recently in your environment. You're going through a divorce, for example. You have lost a child, you have lost a parent, you have changed schools, you have changed towns, something,
There's
in the external.
There's a natural disaster.
Exactly. There's a natural disaster. There is post-election violence, anything environmental.
Yes.
Yeah. That there's El Nino. Yeah.
There is a bombing somewhere.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right now we have cattle rustling.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's quite unfortunate what is happening, say in the rift. Yeah, and you can't be surprised if some of those people are going through extreme stress, and probably some of them even getting into generalized anxiety disorder or a major depressive episode or anything of the sort.
And actually, the current one, the Embakasi.
Yes, look at that. You're sleeping in your house, and the next thing, a fire outbreak.
You slept a rich man, you wake up a poor person.
Oh yes. Yeah. So environmental factors, and really we cannot ignore the fact that we are human and we operate in an environment. Yeah, and this environment can change at any minute.
Yes.
Yeah. Genetic factors. It has been shown through studies that there's a genetic predisposition to a mental health disorder.
How?
Exactly. I wish we would fully understand our DNA. Yeah. In the West, people are actually doing studies to now isolate the different DNAs and, that would predispose different people to different mental health disorders. Yeah. Just like we are doing genetic studies for cancers and all that. We are also doing that in the West. Yeah. We will finally catch up.
We will get there.
We will finally get there as a country, because if we've caught up in, say, cancer care and all these other things, so will we in mental health. And of course, steps are being made. Yeah.
Right.
We cannot ignore that fact. Now, genetic factors, I don't know if, way back in the villages, you would be told, hiyo familia wanakuanga wazimu, hiyo familia wamerogwa, hiyo familia kuna wengi they're dying by suicide, right? And you would really wonder, what exactly is going on, right? So there's a genetic predisposition to certain mental health disorders, and the most common one that runs in families would be one that we call schizophrenia. I'll be talking about it later, but you will find that if daddy had schizophrenia, then there's a twofold probability that you will also, get.
But from what we defined as a mental disorder, how does it become genetic now?
Excellent. Now you will find that when I'll be talking about the chemical causes of genetic predisposition, these are some of the things that we normally say. The cellular composition. Your cellular composition is what makes you, right? And if you're not in a position to, say, balance your stress hormones and all that, that is because of your cellular function, right? Such that you have an excess of what we call cortisol, which is the stress hormone. That is a cellular function which is genetically fashioned, right? So if that function is passed down, the family, then there's also a probability that the offspring will also present with that incapacity to manage or balance the stress hormones and the happy hormones and all that, And that, takes me to the third cause, chemical causes of mental health disorders. Now, you realize that mental health, you really wonder, one day you're okay, but the next you're feeling, you can't get out of bed, or you can't eat, and all that. And it really happens acutely, for example, whenever you have bereavement. You know that feeling that you get, extreme pain, extreme stress, or maybe even a relationship breaking. You are married and the next day someone, says, this cannot go on, That acute presentation is usually a chemical composition where there is an excess production of what we call cortisol hormone, which is the stress hormone, It's produced, by your glands, ideally, whenever you are going through anything strenuous that your brain needs to process more. So that's one. There's also a sustained increase of a chemical that we call adrenaline. They call it the flight or fight hormone. Flight, fight, or freeze hormone. They're adding the freezing bit. Such that if you are constantly exposed to, stressful situations, that would increase your adrenaline. Such that adrenaline ideally is supposed to help you increase your blood supply to the muscles so that you're able to run, to flee. Increase your heart rate, increase your breathing rate so that you're able to cope with these stresses. But then it's supposed to be ideally short-lived. But then you will get that there is sustained stimulation of the production of adrenaline. And really this is a very stressful period to be in. And then there are now extrinsic chemicals. Now these are intrinsic chemicals. I've only talked about two. There are many others, serotonin, but I don't want to go into the depths of that. Now there are extrinsic chemicals, and these are the ones that we use. Substance. All right? And alcohol is something that has been normalized in our society, and it has been shown to cause really very high levels of depression. Marijuana, or what people would call weed, or bangi. I call it bangi, as our parents would call it. Bangi would give you sudden euphoria, but then the lows would be really low. You get, because you're pushing your brain, your happy chemicals really high, but then now, you also drop really low, And that reminds me of some time back when we were going through medical school, and we had our what we call psychiatry rotations, and we would be taken to mental health hospitals, and of course Mathare being one of the biggest in the country is where we would get our training from. And trust me, up to 60% of the people admitted at Mathare were abusing marijuana. So the numbers do not lie. The numbers don't lie.
Definitely.
We've normalized it. A few, people are now eating it. They are baking it in their cakes, and all that. It's even a political thing right now, right? but the numbers don't lie.
Yes.
The numbers don't lie. If substance abuse is a cause and a direct cause of mental health disorders, it is, and we can't shy away from that.
All
We
right.
need to talk about it and shout about it.
Okay. So when you're talking about substance use, we are talking about chemical cause.
Chemical cause.
And this is where quite a number, as you've said, have lied to. And actually, I think we have, we have improved the ways of now misusing drugs.
Absolutely.
I was doing this show on another segment. I went to a certain, how do we call them? These homes that facilitate rehab.
Rehabilitation
Yes.
centers.
And someone was telling me that they have, it is so evil that now they are even using drugs on protective measures, even on condoms.
Ooh, that's
Yes.
interesting.
Such that I was being told of a certain scenario that a lady was taken to the hospital. She's just sick. Akipima, unajua kuna zile vitu mnapima nazo.
Yeah.
She has high content of cocaine.
Oh my.
How she took it, she doesn't understand. She just went to the boyfriend, and that happened. So that is how we are not talking about the chemical, how the causes
Yeah.
of this. Because now you can imagine, how will this lady ever heal?
Exactly.
One, she's prone. Two, she has been disappointed by a man. Three, she's already now dealing with now a drug that she never wanted to take. So that is, we have looked at three causes. We've looked at the environmental, we have looked at the genetic, we have looked at the chemical. I think this genetic can also be spiritual. Okay. Now, okay. But now I understand why when you go to the hospital, you're asked who in your family had this.
Exactly.
So are we headed here with mental disorders?
Absolutely. We are not headed there, we are there.
We're already
We're
there.
already there. We're already there.
All right.
And that's why I gave an example of, those families in the villages that you would identify and feel like, maybe there's something happening in that family. All of them wanaruka kichwa, for example. And as people of God will proudly say, it's a spiritual warfare. And it could be. It could be,
definitely,
yeah?
yes.
Yeah, but, in the medical field, we would say that there's a genetic predisposition to some of those conditions.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let us look at the characteristics of poor mental health.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if you'll allow me to start with the characteristics of good.
Yes, we can start with good and then poor, yes.
Exactly. So now, characteristics of good mental health, right? You remember from the definition we said that you are productive, right? And you're able to deal with the daily stresses.
Yes.
Yeah. Though from that definition, we can pick so many traits, yeah? Now, usually mental health disorders would present with some of your daily living activities, your eating habits, your sleeping habits, your grooming, and all that, yeah? So for you to know that you're of good mental health, yeah, you're well groomed, you're able to communicate. Oh yes,
There are those days, Dr. Bob, you will wake up and you don't feel like putting on makeup. So does this mean that I am having a mental disorder? Really?
We need to look deeply. Maybe during that period you are stressed and we don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Oh yes.
All right.
You're well groomed. You're able to communicate. You're not socially withdrawn. And withdrawal is something that I'd like you to put us down for us to talk about later. Social withdrawal is a serious thing that we are now seeing. Your eating habits may change, yeah, if you're of bad mental, you have bad mental health. But, if you have of good mental health, you're able to eat accordingly.
Yes.
Not too much, not too little.
Yes.
Because eating too little
and not
is
one-sided. You're not only doing junk.
Exactly.
Yes.
You're eating the right kind of food. You're eating at the right time. You're eating the right portions. You're not binging. Eating can actually, just eating alone can actually tell us how you are, mentally and psychosocially.
I need to go to a session. I take my tea break, I think, at 4. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Then sleeping cycle, if you have good mental health, you maintain a specific rhythm of sleep. You do not struggle with falling asleep. You do not struggle with staying asleep. You do not struggle with waking up from bed. Those are some of the traits of good mental health. And then in your social spaces, you are productive, of course. Right. And productivity would be based on, say, your performance indicators, what would be considered a good performance of you, right? And that you're achieving those.
All right.
Yeah.
When you say you don't struggle with sleep, you don't struggle to go to sleep, you don't struggle to wake up, what do you mean? Because I'm telling you, sometimes unafungua hivi unaona kumewaka, you think
right. Sleep is looked at, we have something that we call REM, REM sleep. That is your deepest sleep,
Yes.
rapid eye movement, this is where we want everyone to get to. That is where all your muscles are relaxed, where your brain is not functioning. Only the subconscious, which would probably be represented in the form of dreams and all. Yeah.
Yes.
So for you to get to REM, it's almost like a cycle. Yeah. You get into a space where you need to sleep. Yeah. And ideally, you need to be able to fall asleep within 5 to 10 minutes of closing your eyes.
Yes.
Yeah. But then there are people who you close your eyes, but you're just thinking, yo usingizi haikuji, natafuta usingizi,
And you keep tossing and tossing.
Exactly.
Yes.
Tossing and turning. And unfortunately, in the process of tossing and turning, you find that your brain is now, engaged. You're thinking, and that interview did not probably go too well. What should I have said? Or, my child, and you start thinking about it. And when you're thinking about all these things, your conscious mind is awake, so you definitely cannot go into the subconscious space. Yeah. So that is struggling to fall asleep. Then there is also struggling to stay asleep. That you can fall asleep within 5 to 10 minutes of being in bed, all right? And then at 1 a.m.
you're awake.
And nothing woke you up.
Wait.
You just feel like, and all of a sudden...
You're on your phone, you're on WhatsApp.
Exactly. TikTok, you're just watching videos. That is struggling to stay asleep with no particular cause. Like, there's nothing that is causing you to actually wake up, to be able to, And then now there's struggling to get out of bed. Yeah, you have heavy sleep. You're so sleepy. Hata kama umefanya 12 hours, you're still very tired. Yeah, it's not that you had a busy day the previous day. You're walking up and down. You're doing a lot more than you would. Automatically, you would be tired because, as we say, our bodies are not machines, right? But then you're able to sleep, long periods. But you're still not able to get out of bed to wake up. Yeah. So that is what that would mean. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. I will be looking at the social withdrawal later, but we have looked at the poor and the good mental health. Let's see some types of mental disorders.
Right.
Yes.
Good. So I will talk about the common things. In medical school, we would say common things occur more commonly. Yeah. And therefore, I would like to talk about depression. Then I will talk about generalized anxiety disorder, and probably talk about death by suicide. Yeah. And what leads to that, what we call parasuicide sometimes. So depression.
Yes.
Depression is a condition that we would consider really detrimental to our lives, yeah? Depression has been shown to be a reduced enjoyment of what you would do normally, yeah? We call that anhedonia. You would enjoy, say, talking to people, and now you just do not derive any happiness from talking to people. Right? And all these things would now affect your daily living activities. Yeah, so you withdraw from your, what would give you joy. Yeah, and you would also have extreme sadness. Extreme sadness, extreme unexplainable sadness for more than 3 months. So there's a timeline. So say you're depressed because you're sad for 2 days. No, yeah. Extreme sadness and lack of joy from from doing what you would enjoy before, for a period of more than 3 months. Yeah. Now you will find that with extreme sadness, you will now have all the other symptoms that we were talking about. You probably will not be eating, you probably will not be sleeping, right? Or you'll probably be eating too much and you'll be sleeping too much, so that you just don't want to, you know. You will also have social withdrawal, and that is, you realize that is a recurring, social withdrawal. You will also have trouble, grooming yourself. You probably left your space clean, but now you just don't care.
Yes.
You just don't care. Till ilispill kitambo, you just don't care, right? And you will find that your spaces are now not as presentable as they would be, or as neat as they would be. You probably will have reduced sexual drive. You will probably have reduced communication, like you talk less, for a period of more than 3 months. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, most people are not able to identify depression because we have something we call functional depression. That yes, you have extreme sadness and you do not derive joy from what you would, for more than 3 months, but you're in church, you're at work,
you're doing
everything that is expected of you, but then you go back home and you crash. Extreme sadness not just comes in, and when you have time, you really don't want to be with people.
Yes. Actually, you're just with people because you need to.
Exactly.
You need to. You're required to.
You're required to. Yes. But if you had a choice, you wouldn't be there.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so that is called dysfunctional.
That is functional.
Functional depression.
You're functioning.
Oh yeah, you're doing everything you need to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
But when you're in your closed closet, you are crushed.
Exactly.
You're
extremely sad. You do not derive joy in what you would before, and all the other traits. You're either eating too much or not eating. You're either sleeping too much or not sleeping. All that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. We talked about substance use, death by suicide.
Good. So death by suicide, we say 98% of people who die by suicide have had a mental health disorder that has not been taken care of. All right? So death by suicide, most of the time, by the time someone is succeeding to die by suicide, they have tried it about 4 times.
Okay.
We say death by suicide is a psychological emergency or a psychiatric emergency. Okay. The moment someone says, "Hata nimechoka na maisha," that alone is enough for you to act immediately.
Yes.
But unfortunately, as people of God, we're like, ishindwe. No, you can't talk about such things. You can't, So we try and dismiss it, yeah? So what people, what are some of the signs to look out for when someone is probably planning to commit suicide, yeah? So number one, they will be, again, withdrawn and all the other symptoms of depression, if depression is the primary cause of this suicide. Okay. Number two, they'll be talking about, it. So it's about us to have our ears open, yeah? They'll be talking about it and saying, I'm so tired of life. I don't derive joy in this life. What is the meaning of life anyway? And all that. Number three, they will start giving, their belongings to people. Oh yeah, it happens. It happens.
Okay.
Yeah, you will see them not investing, as much as they would. Say if they were keen on buying land and some of the things, they will just stop doing that because they're already preparing to die. They will actually talk about it to the people close to them, and they'll probably ask you questions like, "What would you do if I wasn't here?"
Well, okay.
What would you do?
Will you remarry?
Would you remarry? Such things. Would you remarry if I died today?
If you remarry, will they use my bedroom? Will they put on my clothes?
Would you sell my food? All those things. Yeah. So those are the things that we need to look out for.
Maybe we are laughing about it, and most of the time this happens.
It does.
And people think it's a normal talk.
Oh yes. And that there is the problem. We have normalized such discussions. And then the next thing, you hear someone has died by suicide. And you're like, but we were with them. And so They probably talked to you about it,
Yes.
but you weren't keen enough to pick it. You weren't keen enough to be able to address it.
Yes.
Okay? So this is something that we need to be talking about. And in the West, and as we said, we are catching up as Kenyans with all the things that are happening in the West, right? Now, it's the leading cause of death among teenagers and young adults in America. We will get there.
Wow.
If we haven't already.
Wow. And because I'm seeing my time is almost up, do we have a solution for this?
We wouldn't be talking about this if there wasn't a solution. So the first solution here is to identify it.
Okay.
And you cannot identify it if you're not informed.
Yes.
All right? And that is why we are here today, to talk about these things, to make a lot of noise about these things,
Yes.
so that everyone is able to identify it at the tips of their fingers.
Oh, yes.
So education is number one. And number two, identification. All right? Once you're able to identify it, don't wish it away. Don't pray it away.
Yes.
Yeah? It is a real issue that needs medical attention.
All right.
Number three, seek help.
Oh, yeah.
Seek help. And for whoever is identifying it, do not be confrontational about it. We, siku hizi naona ni kama you're depressed. We, kuwa kama mwanaume, you know, and these are some of the things that we say, unfortunately, right?
Yeah.
So there's that, yeah. Seek medical help. And if you do not know where to seek medical help from, there are social spaces, maybe the family, if indeed it is a functional family, because, you know, you could approach this to a dysfunctional family and it would be troublesome and it would be an environmental stressor and even worse, and, you know. And number five, and the most important bit, accept to seek treatment.
Right.
If people identify it and they're like, okay, I think you need to see someone, let's not deny.
Yes.
Let's just accept. There is no harm. You're better off coming to your general practitioner or your psychologist or your psychiatrist, and they tell you, okay, maybe you do not need, you know, therapy. Maybe you do not need any medication, or maybe you do.
Yes.
And if you do, won't you be saving your life?
All right. As we wind up, I will just want to remind you that if you had you had a nose bleeding for 2 times a day, and it happens for 3 days, I am pretty sure the next stop you will make at AAR. So don't assume that because you're having these disorders, we've seen there are so many, just identifying one should also make you stop at AAR, should also make you stop at a hospital where you will get help. Let us accept that just the same way you can get flu, you can get a mental disorder. Thank you very much, Dr. Bob.
Thank you
for gracing our screens. Just for one more time, for those who have joined us as we were talking, you can tell them where you are.
Okay. So I am the regional manager at AR Healthcare, managing Nakuru. We are at Guido Plaza, and we are also at Section 58. At Guido Plaza, we are on ground floor. And at Section 58, we are off Ogingodinga Road, right across from State House, next to Mima Insurance Brokers. Do not sleep at home with some of these conditions. Yes. We are here to serve you. All
right. And it is important to mention that AAR also does not only deal with the mental health issues. They are, as she has said, she's a general practitioner. So any other condition that you could be facing, they are open for you. It has been my time. Thank you very much for watching our screens. Please continue tuning on to Oracle TV. My name is Wangui Gachanja.
Thank you.